this woman came with a tape recorder. Well, I was going to say, do you have batteries in it, or is the microphone playing? But I was sure she was so spaced out that I was just trying to figure what it was that she had in mind and why she was bothering to do that instead of something else. So she said, well, can you make up something? I said, sure. So I did some dumb, short thing. Thank heavens it was short. Short mediocrity rather than lengthy. And Lee made up that funny thing that he did. And then we ran off with someone named Ronnie Sunshine, who was a noted village character. And I had played at a benefit for him when he was about to go to prison for a long time. And it turned out that the judge, Richie Havens, organized at the Cafe Noir, and Sam Andrews, who used to play with Janis Joplin, there we played all night long. He's a wonderful guy. He kind of got into trouble. And just about the time he was going to go to jail for a considerable amount of time, the judge apparently said, tell me your last name again. And he said, are you from Benvenuto in Italy? He said, I knew your uncle. So Ronnie got off. And instead of being in prison, he was out there in front of the town hall. Yeah. And it was the first time I've ever seen somebody, what they now call a selfie. He had his little camera. And he was famous for crashing parties, and somehow he was so outrageous he could do it before he got thrown out. And he had pictures with Frank Sinatra and all the most famous people in the world, grabbing them while they were trying to escape and having their and then he managed not to have his camera broken and get hurled out. He had a whole big scrapbook of all these well-known people that he barged into. So he'd already, everybody else he took a picture of, but that night didn't really care. And he was out there getting selfies with everybody. And he said, well, I'll take you guys for a tour. So instead of the reception, we spent the whole night, I don't know if you were with us or not, he drove us all around New York City, giving us the Baedeker's guided tour of hot radios and illicit things that people were selling on the street corners all over New York. So it wasn't what you would call a quality lit evening in the traditional sense, or a great climb of networking towards a very elite plateau of, I guess, cultural fame. And it was just really an interesting, crazy evening. And we continued having the festival, which was a lot of fun. And then, sure enough, the same thing happened to me that happened to Lee. They said, you're in the New Yorker magazine. I said, were they listing someplace I was playing? I said, no, a poem. I said, what? I had no idea that the woman even had even knew how to work the tape recorder, or I'm sure enough there was that poem. So I only mention that because for all of you who are writers, poets, painters, composers, actors, philosophers, or just dreamers of any kind, I always tell young folks that some of the cardinal rules are in our society, what you do to artistically, or what you do to pay your rent has no bearing on your value as an artist. Secondly, in our society, what you deserve and what you get have nothing to do with one another. And third of all, just because it appears to be hopeless is no reason not to pursue it. Right. Anyway, so I suddenly realized, that for all the things I worked and continue to work on so hard for my life, I hope one person will show up. And when Sterling Lord, who was Jack Kerouac's rep, when I wrote the second book, which did come out, Offbeat collaborated with Kerouac, said, congratulations, David, you've beaten Jack's record. I said, what do you mean? He said, you have your 27th rejection. Jack only got 26 before. So I had to always on the road. For all the things I've had to do, and my saxophone concerto, Ode for Lord Buckley, which I wrote in 1981, is just coming out as a recording now, 34 years later. One of the pieces, Trio for Tenor, Saxophone, French horn, and bassoon, I wrote in 1958 when Jack used to come to my apartment. That just came out. And my publisher, a little tiny one in Paradigm Publishers in Boulder, said, we have to remember, said it's not anything personal. And he said, if 27 people say it's no good, and I loved it, it doesn't mean that I'm right and they're wrong, or that they were right and I'm wrong. You were just lucky enough to get one yes. Yes. So I just wanted to say that to all of you. You're not in high school, right? most of the time I work with younger folks, they're all up against that impenetrable former wall, which now, like the Titanic, has sunk from being too big, too fast, not serving the needs of the customers, and poorly administered and unbusinesslike. So that sunk. We're the people, the lifeboats that didn't go down with the full read ahead philosophy, and we're never going to be stomped out anyway. But it's kind of interesting that all of us that had the perception of what you're supposed to do to hit the big time really has nothing to do with anything except other people's conception of what they think all this is about and what art's about. I forget the reason why, I guess why we're here, which is hopefully to make a teeny contribution, and then when you get older, to foster creativity in others and to serve a purpose and do something, some small thing of value. And that's completely different. And then I'll stop by Mr. Rogers gets down with the heavy philosophy, but I just wanted to share that with you because I know you're all artists and writers, and probably in a period where you were brought up to believe in that. The great thing being at Harvard this week with I'm here with the Wind Symphony, is going to play two pieces of mine tomorrow. And the wonderful thing is most of the kids in the orchestra are science majors, chemists, mathematicians, play just because they enjoy it, but they like music. And my hope, which I put on my little website, was my dream was that maybe someone who plays the trombone could hang out with a pre-med student or a law student, and when they see them carrying the trombone around, open up the case and show them that's a trombone. Secondly, get them to come to the concert. And third of all, when I leave the campus Friday, they'll start to hang out and can form a lifetime bond, which you always do in music or art or sports or anything that's collaborative, and educate one another and not feel that they don't have the credentials to be in the same room with other people. Everything that I've learned has been from the University of Hangoutology, of being with people who knew more than me and people who encouraged me to dare to try to learn more myself. Ruth's husband, totally the example of that when I met him about 30 years ago, I guess. Actually, he was over 40, but 1970. 1970. Well, it's so good to be back here at Squawk again. Well, I spoke to Jessa and Lee and they told me when you can get back to Cambridge someday on a Thursday night. Be with us, you'll say amen. Well, I said amen before you knew it was going to be in the church right here on Mass Avenue in the elegant new location. So pretty, it's true, but the old funky spirit does remain. Those things of beauty never change. They have a different face, perhaps they have a different vision, they have a different type of environment that they're in. But all wears a Duke Ellington said, it still don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. So I thank Lee and Jessa and all of you for keeping that lane. When you keep art alive, youth and Western civilization will survive. It might even get civilized itself someday. Then we can take all those bad vibes and throw them away, put them on someone else's shelf. Whether it's here or down in the West, it doesn't really make any difference anyway. Because all you gotta do is show up in the rain. We can end with that beautiful old refrain and spell out the mantra that took thousands of years to get it. It took away all the pain. Just S-K-U-A-K. Oh, I forgot that one. Where the rudimentary spellers are moving the same tonight, telling us that it's going to be alright. One more thing that I can say, thank you, Jessa and Lee, for your hospitality and showing us the true squawkish way.
He says to me, "This ain't the Herbie man I used to dig." So he sets him spinning on the other side, saying nothing, said something about how it had better get better by Jesus. But I guess it didn't, because halfway through, he throws the arm aside like slapping flies, hauls Herbie off, and flings him in the fire. Flip side first.
I am dumb at your door, wet with snow, your tears. The moon is crying. She is void of course. Scorpio transiting Sagittarius. And we are stung. We are nice. And we are wise. We will spend the night together along the crooked path, our hearts misaligned. The snowman melting in the morning, 3 stones in the pool of tears.
Got real style.
Yeah.
She's a lucky one. She's the mystical daughter of Vincent Van Gogh. She's a sorceress. She's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
She's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
She's not one to trifle with. She's the apple of his eye. She mystifies the businessmen. She never reveals secrets. She's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
She's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
She never used to be like that. She's trouble, that's for sure. She's a perfect hostess. She's breaking down the barriers. She's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
She's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
She listens to the sparrows. She's a bit temperamental. She follows the misunderstood ones, but after all, she's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
She's the only beautiful woman in Denver.
I'm Mick Cusimano. I do cartoons for Harvard Crimson. I do movies. I did The Mermaids of Atlantis. I did Monkey Do, Monkey Don't. And I have a movie called The Search for Cleopatra's Crown, which I'm filming right now. And there's a scene with Paul and Rachel Revere, played by Lee and Jessa, in that movie where Napoleon discovers Rosetta Stone in Egypt, and he also finds Cleopatra's crown, and it ends up in the West Indies, and a ship merchant brings it back to Boston, and Paul Revere finds it and writes a little note about it, and it shows up in the present day, and everybody's looking for it, so it's a big treasure hunt. Everybody's searching for Cleopatra's crown, and that's going to come out in January. I'll send everybody emails when finally do it. But I do cartoons, I do movies, but I do poetry, but, you know, it's a rough life being a poet.
It's a rough life.
Rags and poverty, the bard's middle name, shoved at the bottom of America's game. Living in squalor as night approaches, but you're never alone. Just listen for the roaches. Dining a cheeseburger with yuppie sea lobster, the girl you fancy ran off with a mobster. Ride subway, sardines stuffed in jeans. Poets speak truth which television cleans. Occupation surrealist, destination unknown. Waiting for Letterman to call on the phone. Pedestrians go by, the poet performs verse. For them only reruns could possibly be worse. Winding down the highway, the sage moves on. The city ignores him till he's dead and gone.
Dead and gone.
Then I realized everything that he went through every day in his life, that he saw that even though people have to deliver the garbage and clean out the cesspools and everything, you don't have to dwell in them purposefully. And therefore, for those things that are part of the world, you could just say, so what? And just stay on that path, which is what he did. And now a lot of young folks know that too. So I'm just going to play one tune. This will be for you and Jessa and Nick from our friendship, and also for you and your dear brother Blue, who was so kind to me 40-some years ago. I was already a middle-aged man then, but I wasn't that at home in Cambridge. When I came down there, I can't remember what we did, but he just jumped up and made me feel maybe I could do something I'd never done before. So this is just a little theme and variations on Amazing Grace. When I wrote my flute concerto for James Baldwin, he said, David, I can't play jazz or Latin music. I said, I want you to write it down the way Brahms did and make it sound like the whole orchestra and me are jamming. So, part of composition is trying to write it down meticulously, but make it feel as if it were natural. And that's what Jack did in his writing. I think that's what just about everybody did. So I just wanted to pass that on. Scarcely a military secret, but if you play your cards close to the vest, you could be someone of stunning achievement. and then really dump on everybody. There's I think an idea whose time has passed. And now that we're realizing that maybe George Washington, Lee showed me the place where George Washington and his wife used to sit in the church trying to figure out surreptitiously how maybe they could still be who they were, but get rid of a king somewhere telling them who they should be and help to liberate us. And now finally, 200 some years, whatever it is, later, we're finally taking off the shackles of mental colonialism, which we've all been affected by without even knowing it. So this is the wonderful song by Captain John Smith, who turned his slave ship around and violated the basic business rules of not going into the family business and doing something else. He wrote that great song, Amazing Grace, and this is just a little theme and variations. Then I'll play one tune on the piano real fast and then sit down.
I kept on with poetry, music, the motion, and movement. I was diagnosed and always lost. I never thought I would do it. I went through sadness and saw scars develop on my friends' arms and others who developed bruises. Because I could write and some cannot, and that's why anger exists. That's why slit wrists and broken fists exist. And that is what I realized, that writing poetry was my sanctuary and has kept me alive. And now I write, and I write still listening to
Winter night
music.
Atlantic Ocean, and just barely discernible to even the keenest eyesight, there is a lone street sign poking up and through the cold seawater waves. If you swim out to this sign, you will discover that there is nothing painted on it. More clean than immaculate, this spot, as marked by the street sign, is the only existing location upon the earth where the living can feel the sensations one experiences after death and before life. If you hold on to the signpost just 7 feet below the ocean's surface, there is a peculiar patch of sea comprised of fresh tears and rainwater. It is so warm and silent. And it is this warmth and silence, combined with the vast and embracive underwater reality, that consumes the notion of life and the body as object, as organism, as flesh and physical, leaving only the pureness of inexistence as only felt when that relationship between you and all the earthly elements is reestablished once again.
So it's 5 o'clock a.m.
I clustered all my belongings in an infinite small purse, just as if I could compartmentalize my soul. But my soul has wings and wheels and little windows that divide my past from my future. My soul can expand and depart once and there, get the meaningful suspension for nothing, leave the urge occasionally, land happily as if life were just a flight.
Here we are at Squawk Coffee House.
Woohoo!
Woo! Yeah. 4th. 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 4 2014. We have a great night here at Squawk Coffee House because we're featuring David Amram and many other people, but David Amram. And I want to say a couple words about how David Amram and I and Jessa and Cusimano met in New York City that night of the 1994 concert at Town Hall in Manhattan, when Allen Ginsberg and a number of the other beats, I think we had Sanders and all those people were there. And afterwards, everybody, well, let me get ahead of myself. As we were going in, there must have been 300 or 400 people going to this. There was this wild woman waving in the air paper that says, "Write a haiku, get in the New Yorker. Write a haiku, get in the New Yorker," which we thought, well, okay, whatever. But well, we took the paper and we went in. We had a wonderful concert. It was good, and it was over, and people were filing out. And I said to Mick, "Oh, you remember that? I lost the paper that I got from that woman." And he says, "Well, I'm not using mine. You can take mine." So I took his and I ran down to the stage and I put it down. And I only had one thought, which is that if this really is the New Yorker, it better be short. And so I wrote out this little sonnet, this little haiku. I call it a haiku. And this is it. It's since burgeoned into a literary tradition. But anyway, ooh, baby, double your syllable, double your fun. Make me a high, coo angel. And I spelled high, H-I-G-H, and cuckoo, C-O-O-C-O-O. Well, that did it. I got him. Right beside of David Amram.
Good going.
David Amram and I, they took, remember David, they took a Polaroid, she had a Polaroid and took our picture. I know because it turns out that she was Carol Lay, a quite famous graphic artist, and she took a little Polaroid photo of you, and she did a drawing of your face, and this was how David and we met, and we're like, we've been soul foofs ever since. We do have a copy of that. You can pass it on and look at it, put it on the styrofoam. David has one because we presented him one. We got back to Cambridge, and I immediately had to go, and I taught French in Paris and Czech in Prague. So I was gone for 2 weeks, came back, and once I got my jet lag sleep, finished, I went down to the Pamplona, was coming in the door, and the waiter says, "Oh, there you are, haven't seen you. You're published in the New Yorker." And I said, "No." Yes, you are. We got a copy upstairs. And he went up to get it. And Richard Cambridge was down on the Nantucket at his house where he goes once a year, and he opened the mailbox, and there was a New Yorker, and he opens it, and it falls to the center page, and he says, "Oh my God." And this little kid's got a poem in here. I'm so warm for you. When I go like this, you repeat what I say. Your part is just simply to repeat what I say. Lord Fizz is coming.
Lord Fizz is coming.
He's talking the talk, he's squawking the walk.
He's talking the talk, he's walking the walk.
The seagulls are flying upside down.
The seagulls are flying upside down.
Lord Fizz is coming.
Lord Fizz is coming.
Wave your hats, butternuts.
Wave your hats, butternuts.
No more need to be sad.
No more need
Juby up and do the diggy dog.
Juby up and do the diggy dog.
Oh Lord Fizz, come into our lives. Oh Lord Fizz, lickety split and jubilation. Lickety split and jubilation. Lickety split and jubilation. Now our other soul foof. The great blue butterfly is watching over us all.
The great blue butterfly is watching over us all.
All us little caterpillars crawling around down here below.
All us little caterpillars crawling around
Down here below. The great blue butterfly.
The great blue butterfly
Lifts its wings and comes to nestle.
lifts its wings and comes to nestle
On Ruth Hill's shoulder.
on Ruth Hill's shoulder.
Oh, Ruth, be not afraid.
Oh, Ruth, be not afraid.
We know who it is.
We know who it is.
Oh, great blue butterfly, flutter up over us.
Oh, great blue butterfly, flutter up over us.
Lead us safely on
Lead us safely on
through the dark paths of the forest.
through the dark paths of the forest.
Oh, great blue butterfly,
Oh, great blue butterfly,
Lord Fizz is coming.
Lord Fizz is coming.
Lickety split and jubilation.
Lickety split and jubilation. Lickety split and jubilation. Lickety split and jubilation.
Thank you.
Make us high, cuckoo angels.
Make us high, cuckoo angels.
Philosophers used it back in Aristotle's time. If you can't spell it, you can't sell it. So you gotta